MAB has an ambitious mission, and to achieve it, we need lots of help. Tonight, we are honoring 3 individuals and organizations who've done the most over the past year to provide that help. To present our first Community Partner Award, I want to introduce Paul Sainer, the former commissioner of the Massachusetts Commission for the Blind and current MAB board member. Paul Sainer. Okay, great.
Thank you, Barbara. It is my pleasure to, in a minute, present the first Community Partnership Award to Senator Cream. I want to first acknowledge Harvey, her husband, who's in attendance with us tonight, along with Garrett Casey, who is responsible for policy and also counsel to the Senator's office, and like the Senator, a graduate of Brookline Public Schools. The Senator it represents the 1st Middlesex in Norfolk District, which includes Brookline, and she also happens to be the Senate Majority Leader. Over her illustrious career, she has demonstrated a deep commitment to access, equity, and inclusion for individuals with disabilities. And in particular, she's been a stalwart leader for funding for blindness rehabilitation, as I personally know when I was the Commonwealth's Commissioner for the Blind. The Senator is being honored tonight for her continued leadership in specifically securing $250,000 of funding in this fiscal budget year for MABVI to provide mental health services and assistive technology training. As the former commissioner, as a member of the MAB board, and as a blind adult, I can personally testify to the incredible importance of those services towards ensuring productive independence for the more than 1,200 consumers, mostly seniors, that MABVI serves Commonwealth-wide. I want to ask you to join me in a round of applause in presentation of this award to the Senator.
This is the award that you're going to give to her.
Okay.
Oh, thank you so much.
You're entirely welcome.
Wonderful constituent, the best.
Thank you for being with us.
Thank you.
Would you like me to hold this while you speak? Or?
Sure.
Okay.
It's beautiful. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Wow, that's really beautiful. Thank you, Paul. It's hard enough to hear people, but with a mask, it's even harder. So, and I'm not sure whether it's good to wear it or not. But I want to thank you, Paul, for your kind introduction. I've known Paul a long time. I've worked with Paul when he was the commissioner, and he's wonderful, a pleasure to work with, kind, honest, hardworking. I respect him a lot. I want to thank Barbara and everyone at the MAB Community Service for this honor. I know that MAB Community Service does a wide range of important work, from the excellent education provided at the Ivy School to the support services it offers to adults with disability. That's why I was so thrilled to be able to help MAB in this year's budget, and especially to support its programs for Massachusetts residents who are blind and visually impaired. I do want to note that, like everything else, it takes a village, and we all vote on the budget. And I do want to give a round of applause to my colleague, Representative Vitolo, for the work that he did in the House of Representatives. We all voted on this, so thank you. It's wonderful to be a partner with you. Thank you so much. Supporting the blind community has been a priority for me in the Senate, and I feel lucky to have an organization like MAB in my district. And supporting the blind community is also a personal thing to me. My husband has macular degeneration. I listen to Stephanie. I keep telling him he can use the computer and an iPhone better than our grandchildren. I'm not sure about that, but in any event, we're working on it. For those who have experienced extensive vision loss and are struggling with daily tasks like cooking, grocery shopping, keeping track of mail and bills, access to the services that MAB provides is essential. The training, giving thousands of people who are struggling with vision loss the vital adaptive skills they need to thrive at work or in school, to remain independent in their homes, and to stay engaged in the community. With access to supportive services, blind individuals can live independent lives and participate in activities you might not expect. And one of the first things I saw when I visited a facility that did rehabilitative training, I was in awe. I have not forgotten 2 young men who were fencing, 2 men without sight that were fencing. I would be afraid to be doing what they were doing. And I realized how important and how they were living a natural, normal life and doing what they really wanted to do. And I thought that was great. But it was great because of the supportive services that they had. I'm proud that working closely with Paul, I was able to increase the overall funding for the statewide program that promoted and promotes rehabilitation and training for the blind and visually impaired. And we're not done yet, and I'm looking forward to the next budget. I'm expecting a call from Paul and Barbara. This doesn't end with one time. It grows, and I know that when I go before the Ways and Means Chairman in the Senate, Senator Rodericks, he says, I know the blindness community. And so it is important to have made a priority, and I intend to continue to make this a priority. So thank you all so much for this award, and I'm humbled and proud to be here. Thank you. Oh, no, he's got it. Oh, okay. I'm taking them all. That's terrible. One more beautiful. Great. Thank you. Thank you.
And to present our next Community Partner Award, I want to invite Stephanie Fidel, President of MAB's board, to come to the podium.
Well, it's now my great pleasure to introduce Orlando Watkins, who is Vice President and Chief Program Officer at the Boston Foundation, one of our nation's oldest and largest foundations. Orlando is accepting a Community Partnership Award on behalf of the Boston Foundation. Since 1986, the Boston Foundation has awarded MAB Community Services more than $550,000. Most recently, we were deeply honored to receive a $75,000 open door grant from the Boston Foundation to support our access technology training programs. One of just 22 awards of its kind in this funding round, this surprise grant is awarded to exemplary open door applicants or grantees. This investment will support life-changing services. Orlando, thank you so much for joining us today to accept this award. We are extremely grateful to you and your team, and please, all of you, join me in recognizing Orlando Watkins and the Boston Foundation.
Can I say a few words?
Yes,
Okay.
absolutely.
Just a couple. I just wanted to say what an honor it is to receive this award on behalf of the Boston Foundation. We have had a long partnership with MAB and MABVI. And I think in this season that we're in at the Boston Foundation with our new leader, Lee Pelton, it is our commitment to deepen our work in inclusion, and that's inclusion for all members of our community. And so thank you for the award. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Great to meet you. I work at Advocacy Miller, so let me take off my glasses.
Thank you. Thank you.
And now, for our final Community Partner Award, I want to invite Sassy Outwater-Wright, the Executive Director of MABVI, MAB's Programs for the Blind and Visually Impaired, to come to the podium.
Thank you, Barbara. Good evening, everyone. I am so happy to be back in Boston. I landed here. My flight landed today at noon, and I am back with all of you. And for those who don't know, I have spent the past several years kind of bouncing back between Boston and California, out there fighting cancer, here doing MABVI and fighting to make sure that the blind people who live in Massachusetts get the services and resources that they need. And I'm so happy to be back in the Boston side of my life tonight. And I'm up here to present a Community Partnership Award to an incredible organization, a company, and an incredible person who has been volunteering tirelessly with that company and with us to provide services to our community. This partnership award goes to the company Be My Eyes, and specifically to Caitlin Greller. Caitlin is a volunteer with Be My Eyes and with MABVI who has tirelessly put in countless hours to make sure that our volunteer special program for volunteers who want to help MABVI participants has been built and resourced and supported. She has largely been the skeleton behind the framework of how that program works and operates. She has put in so much effort to making sure that our volunteers who work with that program have the answers that they need, have the resources that they need, have the teamwork that they need. You know, you think of the Wizard of Oz and who's the person behind the curtain? It's Caitlin. She is one amazing person, and she does it all just because she cares. And that is the amazing part of being with MABVI, is we do it because we care, and we do it because we love what we do. Every day we get up and go to work or volunteer because we love what we do. And Caitlin, we're so thankful to have you on our team and for the effort that you put in and for the joy that you bring to that work that you do. There's always such a flare of happiness and excitement and you know, just satisfaction with what you're doing that comes across to your volunteers and to our participants. And that's what makes this program tick. And we're so thankful to be able to this evening to honor you with a Community Partnership Award. Caitlin is joining us via Zoom this evening, and so we are so thankful to be able to send you this award, and we recognize you with a round of applause this evening for your effort. And to accept the award on behalf of Be My Eyes, I am so lucky to have with us this evening from California as well, CEO of Be My Eyes, Matt Wisk. Matt, will you join us for just a moment? Thank you very much.
Do you want to give him the award? Or
Yeah.
Okay, here.
I didn't get to say hello, but hello.
Hello.
Nice to see you again.
It is wonderful to see you too.
Jump over. Oh, take a quick photo.
You got a mic? Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, those photos, those sighted people in their photos.
You want to hang on to that? You want me to take it? Very good. All right. Thank you. So first off, you know, there's an old phrase which is, you know, show me the person's friends and I'll show you the person. That couldn't be more true with the partners that we are fortunate to have here. And we are truly honored to be part of this community and providing in some small way visual assistance to the community. Rather than have me try to explain it, I will show a quick video here from one of our corporate partners, Sony, and from our founder, Hans, who, for those of you that don't know, started out as a dairy farmer in southern Denmark who started losing his sight as a teenager and realized that he was going to have a little help from his friends. So he started this app that connects a blind user with a volunteer to help them with daily tasks, for those of you that aren't familiar with Be My Eyes. And what it's mushroomed into just 7 years later is 450,000 users who are blind or visually impaired around the world in 150 countries that are supported by 6 million volunteers who speak 185 languages, which from that humble start, you wouldn't have guessed that kind of outcome, but here we are. So with that, I'll turn it over to the video, and we'll learn a little bit more from Hans.
At Sony, we're dedicated to making our products enjoyable and accessible to all of our customers. We want to create a world without limitations, which means accessibility is a priority for us. Our next step is bringing video support to our customers for the very first time through our partnership with Be My Eyes. Be My Eyes is a free app on Android and iOS which offers video support to users who are blind or low vision. A user can simply press a button on their phone, or they can ask their phone to call Sony and they'll be connected with a trained Sony representative. We're really proud to be the first consumer electronics company on the app, and we're excited to partner with Be My Eyes on their journey to make the world a more accessible place for everyone.
When I came up with the idea for Be My Eyes 10 years ago, my dream was to have a world where every person, regardless of level of vision, can live independently. Together with Sony Europe, we are continuing to make this dream a reality.
We're launching our support on the 13th of October to coincide with World Sight Day. This is a day dedicated to raising awareness around visual impairments and accessibility. We want to put our customers first, and we're happy that we can now offer a simple solution to our blind and low vision users. Together with Be My Eyes, we're one step closer to creating a world without limitations.
So thanks for the video. So we currently have 38 corporate customers, people like Google and Microsoft and Spotify and a number of brands you would all recognize, including Sony. And our mission is not to make it 38, it's to make it 38,000 or 380,000 clients around the world. We're fortunate to have one here tonight that we were talking, Jason and I were talking before the event about how we're partners in the same mission as we try to make the world a little bit more inclusive and accessible. But we won't stop there, and so we launched recently a program to take the same programs that Google and Sony are paying us for and make it available to small business. And I think that really, if we think about how all we live our daily lives, access to a small business partner is vital to that accessibility issue. And so for $1 a day, we're going to offer that program to everybody in our quest to make this not available for the 450,000 blind users across the world that we have today, but for the 285 million blind and low vision people across the globe. And we appreciate all the support that Sassy and others have shown us along the way. This is not a solo journey, this is a family journey, and we thank you from the bottom of our hearts for all the support that you have given us. And for, quite frankly, being here tonight is an important step in that journey for us, because it gives us a chance to finally face-to-face show our appreciation. Thank you.
Thank you, Matt. We're grateful to have you here this evening. And for those who are still trying to put together what is Be My Eyes and why is MABVI participating with it, volunteerism is a huge part of what MABVI is and does, and this is just a new way of doing it. And tonight, very briefly, I want to talk about the state of the MABVI. Where are we? Where have we started, and where are we going in the past year? But the past several years, because we haven't gotten to get together in an annual event or in any kind of in-person event for several years because COVID. We are looking at all the ways that we can bring together the power of community to support the individuals who live with vision disabilities in the state of Massachusetts. And that includes virtual volunteerism, like Be My Eyes, where someone uses a phone camera, calls in, and is able to use a volunteer somewhere far away. I've called Be My Eyes and gotten a volunteer in Australia. I've called Be My Eyes and gotten a volunteer in Denmark. I've called Be My Eyes and gotten a volunteer in Scotland, in Portugal, anywhere. And time or space is no barrier to them being able to assist me with tasks from distinguishing a blue jacket from a purple one, to making sure my makeup looks correct, to making sure that I don't accidentally, open a box of nails versus a box of sand. Or I've had any number of really hysterical Be My Eyes stories. The box of nails or box of sand was for a 5-year-old's birthday party, by the way. Sand versus nails, there's a big difference at a 5-year-old's birthday party. So Be My Eyes was our latest iteration of making sure that during the time of the pandemic, our participants in our programs were able to get the services that they needed, able to read their mail, able to read recipe cards, able to set up their phones to FaceTime their grandkids. Whatever it was, having virtual volunteerism support was a huge part of making sure that we had a fully resourced community. And that is how we have been spending our past 3 years, making sure that our community members and our participants have all the resources that they need, including social support, including rehabilitation support with our amazing occupational therapists, technology instructors, group support groups throughout the state, and new programs, including our adjustment counseling support services. That program has just taken off over the pandemic. It wasn't something that existed, and I don't think the pandemic was the only reason it took off. It's something that now exists. We have clinicians on staff who, like the rest of us, are blind or have low vision. And it takes the stigma out of reaching out and saying, I need mental health support and adjustment support. When you start losing your sight, there are a whole host of emotions that barrage you, from fear to grief to rage to even hope. There are amazing things that happen when you lose your eyesight too, not just bad things. But you can't think that there could be amazing things that you could experience, because that might be that there might be some open doors and you are too afraid, too frozen, too scared to assume that that might be a possibility. But when you start to talk to someone else who is blind, who has been there, done that, the stigma backs off. The fear backs away a little bit. The grief can come out. And you're not sitting there with a therapist whose first question is, well, how do you get up in the morning and tie your shoes if you can't see what you're doing? The first question is, how are you doing? Because the blindness doesn't need to enter the conversation. It's just part of the conversation. And so we have clinicians who have lived experience, and that is part of our programming. We have introduced that, and it has taken off so much. We have gone from just a couple of referrals to our mental health adjustment counseling services a couple of years ago to over 50 this year, and growing. As Senator Cream said, the work is not done. We've just begun. There's more work to do. I'm going to take that as the theme of tonight's takeaway here. There's more work to do, and we're so excited to be doing that work. And so I want to highlight that, and I want to highlight one other thing that MABVI has just extraordinarily excelled at in the past couple of years that our community has asked for, and that is providing resources and envisioning blindness supports in new ways. We know what has worked over the past 70 years. We've all been part of it if we've had blindness for any length of time. But what we haven't spent a lot of time doing is envisioning new ways of doing it. So from Be My Eyes to adjustment counseling with clinicians who are blind themselves, to looking at what we're here tonight to discuss, digital accessibility and technology. We are pushing the boundary of how rehabilitation is delivered, is experienced, and is envisioned. And digital accessibility, what does that even mean? It means anything to do with technology. How do you access it? For those who cannot see me, I'm sitting up on stage in a wheelchair. We had to make sure that the stage was even with the ground or had a ramp or had some way to access it so I, as a wheelchair user, could get up here. That holds true for those experiencing the internet and experiencing digital technology. We need to be able to get online, whether it's through your dishwasher to wash your dishes with the touch screen on the front of it, the ice maker with the touch screen on the front of it, the thingy where you're not supposed to say her name, Alexa, that you have to talk to, the TV screen that you have to click the remote to access, and you can't quite click the remote on the right thing to get the TV show you want to watch, for heaven's sakes. All of these things have internet or technological capability that you have to be able to interact with. And MABVI has to be part of that game. I started as an assistive technology specialist with MABVI 6 years ago. But before that, I started as a voice in the crowd. When MABVI held a summit for aging, they asked, what can we be doing differently? And I was that heckler in the crowd who said, technology. And then somewhere along the way, I started working for MABVI, teaching technology. And then somewhere along the way, I became the leader of MABVI as the executive director. And I kept saying technology. Because all of us, blind or not, low vision or not, interact with technology. And MABVI now is leading the way in that game. We are now expanding our assistive technology training programs statewide so that older adults who want to learn assistive technology can do so anywhere within the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. They can receive as much training as they want. There is no limit on that training. They receive it through a combination of our staff, assistive technology instructors, and through our amazing and robust volunteer program. There's that word again, volunteer. It's how MABVI works. And we are expanding that this year in amazing ways, thanks to the funding provided by the earmark. And we are growing that statewide. And we are proud to be launching a new partnership up in Salem. And we are looking toward the South Shore, and we are looking toward the Pioneer Valley, and so many more places. We are on a mission to get that to any senior center within Massachusetts. And we are so lucky to be able to say to every blind person within the state of Massachusetts that technology is not something that is a barrier. It is an opportunity, it is an experience, and you can access it. But that access is the next challenge we have to tackle. I can teach how to use technology, but first we need to tackle how to access technology, and that's the next place MABVI is going. We are stepping into digital accessibility in huge ways this year by facilitating discussions about it, by advocating for it, by helping companies understand what they have to do to make products and services more accessible. But also, again, back to that word envisioning. We are envisioning new ways of creating accessibility. And one of those ways is piloting new programs, like the one I'm about to show in a video. This came about in a discussion with a group of amazing minds that I get to work with. See, here's the thing. I have the best job on earth. I get to wake up every morning and work with brilliant minds that come up with stuff like this. We want people who experience times when digital accessibility isn't working to have a resource to get it working. So when somebody encounters something on the internet that is a bug or that isn't working for them, we are envisioning a program where they still get their needs met, they still get their problem solved, but then we get to reach out to the business as advocates and say, hey, your service or your website is not accessible, but we can help you fix that. And it doesn't have to break the bank, it doesn't have to break an arm or a leg, it doesn't have to be difficult, it doesn't have to be challenging. It can be community resourced, it can be supportive, it can be inclusive, and it doesn't have to be litigious and scary. We're not here to scare you. We're here to entice you to view the disability community as a partner, as something good, as a customer you want to attract. So this is Access Help Desk, and I'm going to show a short video about what that is and what we're envisioning it to be and where we're going with this project.
Picture of a military veteran husband and his pregnant wife. Brown Cuddles Teddy, in stock for immediate delivery. Quantity on selected. Add to cart.
Again? Come on.
Hey, is everything okay?
I'm trying to buy this teddy bear for John's birthday from teddyland.com, but the shopping cart doesn't work with my screen reader.
Do you want me to fix it for you?
If you fix this for me now, then the next blind person will have the same problem. I'm calling Access Desk. This problem must be fixed for everyone.
Blind user launching Access Desk desktop application.
Hello, I'm trying to buy a present for my son, but the website doesn't work with my screen reader. Can you help?
Of course. First, I'm going to help you with the task you had trouble with. And then I'm going to escalate this to Access Desk, QA, and Advocacy team, so they can help the business solve the problem going forward for all users. How's that sound?
This sounds fantastic.
Great. I'm remotely taking control of your computer. And now, I'm adding the teddy bear to your cart.
Good.
Adding your shipping information. Payment will be made directly to the courier.
Perfect.
Order in place? You can expect to receive it in 2 days. I'll escalate the situation to our QA and Advocacy team and get back to you with an update soon.
You guys are great. Thank you very much.
Alright, let's get to the bottom of this.
Launching a Slack conversation with Access Desk QA and Advocacy team.
Hi QA team, we just received another request for assistance. I'm sending details now.
Hi Gustavo, this is Aldama from the QA team. We highly appreciate your advocacy and we have a technical report ready for you so you can reach out to the business.
Amazing, we couldn't have done it without you.
Access Desk Advocate, Gustavo, calling teddyland.com.
Hi, this is Mike from Teddyland. How can I help?
Hi Mike, my name is Gustavo, and I'm a disability rights advocate calling on behalf of a community called Access Desk. I called to let you know that we just had a blind user who tried to purchase a teddy bear from your website for his son's birthday. Unfortunately, your website has some accessibility barriers that prevented him from buying from you. If you are open to working with us, we have a report ready for you, and we can help you solve those issues and help your business become an inclusive business. I am confident that we can help you implement the right solution that fits your business needs, that isn't going to be costly or time-consuming at all. How does that sound?
Wow, thank you so much for bringing this to our attention. I had no idea that blind users can't navigate our site. I definitely want to work with you to become an inclusive business and make sure that everyone can use our site.
Amazing. I am so happy to hear that. I will send over the report to you right now, and our QA team will be happy to answer any questions.
7 days later. The birthday gift arrives and the family is celebrating in the living room.
So honey, do you like your new teddy bear?
Yes, his name is Bobby and I love him.
A new message from Access Desk. Double tap to read. This is Jason from Access Desk. I'm just letting you know that teddyland.com managed to fix the issue with their website, and going forward, all blind users should be able to buy without a problem.
They fixed it.
This is awesome.
Dr. Hobie Wedler, blind entrepreneur, chemist, visionary, teacher.
Access Desk is here to bridge the gap between the disabled community and businesses around the world by making the web more accessible and inclusive to everyone. When a disabled user identifies an accessibility issue, we work with them to solve whatever issue they're having, and then our advocacy and QA teams work with that business to make their online presence more fundamentally accessible so no future users will have issues. We will do this work through conversations, advocacy, and education, and certainly not through lawsuits and demand letters.
Access Desk logo. Photos of businesses and people with disabilities. Connecting the disability and business communities.
When I was a kid, I know I wanted that teddy bear. Man, my mom can tell you stories about the time I threw a temper tantrum in the store wanting that particular teddy bear. Not that one, but yeah. I was very renowned for a teddy bear tantrum. Don't ask my mother that story. But the one thing that I wasn't when I was a demanding little 5-year-old kid was a problem. I was a problem, but I wasn't that kind of problem. I wasn't a drive-by lawsuit letter. I wasn't a legal problem demanding a legal fix because I was that blind person. I wasn't a lawsuit waiting to happen. Right now, there are so many businesses that are receiving letters that are telling them that they have to make their websites accessible or else, and they will have to pay. And we don't want to do that. We want to focus back on the people that are involved in needing accessibility. We want to sit, we want to dialogue, we want to talk. And MABVI is well placed to do that. We want person to person to relate why accessibility is so important in 2022. Think back over your day. How many times did you interact with technology today? Right? I don't know if you can count. I don't know if I can. From the moment you woke up in the morning and turned on that light bulb, did any of you in this room need a light bulb? Did anybody in this room need a light bulb? I didn't. That may not be the accessibility tool I need, but it is certainly the one that you need. I did need something that talked to me, though, which is not the one that you need. We all need assistive technology. Sorry, you are no different than I am. That's the takeaway. We all need something. We all need different accessibility tools, but we all need something. And we all need to respect each other's space and share that understanding that each and every one of us needs accommodations of some sort, but it doesn't have to be something where they're over there and they need something different. We need to start looking at accessibility as inclusive of all of us. The tools may be different, but the framework is the same. And MABVI is here to bridge that gap and start having those discussions and start helping businesses understand the importance of accessibility and the reasons why it is so imperative. It is how you get from no COVID vaccine to a COVID vaccine. It is how you get from no food in your fridge to a grocery delivery. It is how you get from no books to a book in your hand. And with that, I'd like to introduce our panel for the evening. When I was a kid, books, print was the ultimate thing I wanted access to. I was a bookworm. And there is an amazing service called the National Library Service for the Blind and Print Disabled. And this evening we are lucky enough to have its director with us. May I please introduce Jason Broughton. We also have MABVI's newest employee with us, and before that, she was the director of the American Printing House for the Blind's, let's see if I can get this right, ABIDE program, Access, Belonging, Inclusion, Diversity and Equity program. Say that 5 times fast. She is a celebrated attorney and disability rights advocate. I have Tai Tomasi with us this evening. And Tai is joining MABVI as our new Director of Digital Accessibility Advocacy. And they are here joining me this evening to talk about this topic of digital accessibility. And as my CEO, Barbara Salisbury, likes to say, digital accessibility is the new human right. But it's not a new human right. It's an age-old human right. If you think about it, accessibility means accessing information. How do we access information? And if I go to the root of that, for me as a human being, that started with books as a kid. That started with print as a kid. And the first time I remember ever being able to access something was in a library for blind children with a book that I could check out. And that was provided by the Library of Congress, by the National Library Service for the Blind and Print Disabled. And when my little fingers that were still learning Braille got to trail across those pages and to suddenly have access to the bedtime stories that my parents would read me, it was a game changer. And whether that's for me or I got to sit next to an 85-year-old about 2 weeks ago who had just lost her sight over several years and had never known that this service existed. And suddenly she had a book on a cartridge that was being read aloud for her. And she cried. She cried that suddenly again she could read. This was life-changing for her. This thing that she thought had been snatched away from her because she was losing her vision was suddenly back, and she could have as much of it as she wanted. And this is digital accessibility. Whether it's a book on a cartridge, whether it's the internet, access to information is critical for all of us. And Jason, I'm going to put you on the spot and kick this off with you. Talk to me a little bit about why access for you was such a game changer and drew you into working with the Library of Congress on this project, and what you see is the importance of access for all people and what connects you to that.
Oh, well, thank you. I am really humbled to be here in front of all of you. This is, my goodness, a really heartfelt and heartwarming thing. I just need to say that. So thank you so much for having me here from DC. In thinking about this topic, the National Library Service, it is what we do. It is what brought us into existence, celebrating now 92 years of service in this country at the Library of Congress. And saying that for our inception to even be created, one of the visionaries who came to talk to Congress and talk to the First Lady at the time and the President as they were establishing reading rooms for veterans was Helen Keller, who said, this is a thing you need to think about, who is going to additionally need access when it comes to the country. And so we were created to do this. Of course, it was definitely Braille, which we still have, which made things accessible. And then through the years, as I look around the room with my bits of vision that I have, it also meant a lot of changes. So when we talk about, as Sassy said, technology, there is a mature crowd in here who remembered that we had record players. There, I see the the record players. I grew up with an uncle who was blind and amazingly knew what NLS was at a very, very early age, because I used to help him with the 45s and the LPs at that time, flipping them over to have music. You would then note that we skipped a few pieces of technology. In other words, we did not do the 8-track tape, for those who know what that is. Followed by, we did not do CDs. It was a decision that was felt as not going to be probably really good. But now here we are with actual digital players that go out in a partner that we have, the U.S. Postal Service. But we also have this new thing, which is streaming. What does it look like? So as you hear me talk about all these different things, technology through the years, accessibility is extremely important. And when we say this, it is not just the interface of using a website. Connectivity is a part of accessibility. When you hear the word accessibility, I kind of liken it now to if you are in a techie room, and definitely with UX or user design experiences, it is the new sexy thing to talk about. Oh, I'm helping with accessibility. Well, some people don't even have technology that connects them to the internet. You are not accessing anything. So you have to think about it in very, very unique terms. I had the pleasure of going to visit one of our network libraries, which is the DC Public Library downtown. If you've never been, amazing library with a rooftop that's just glamorous. They are showing me all of these wonderful things that they have, and then they notice I am taken aback by a simple piece of technology. As you walk into the library, someone constructed a very interesting thing that should have been done 20 years ago with the computer. If you can imagine a laptop that is connected back to back, where there are two sides, one for one person to connect and the other immediately opposite. It is at the door of the library when you walk in for those who are deaf or blind. The receptionist is on one end, the person walks up, and it will either talk or it will visually tell you what the conversation is. Simple, welcoming, right there when you walk through the door, you know what type of service you're going to get at that library. That is a simple way of having accessibility.
Thank you. A simple way of having accessibility. A simple way of having what? We all think of accessibility as this big, complex, like really demanding thing, and it scares us all off. No, it's so simple. It's just doing the very most basic common sense things. I love how you started us off with what is accessibility? It's just coming back to the core of what it takes. A computer where a deaf blind person can correspond with someone. That's so easy. It's just back to back. Those are the biggest things that we see. Our digital accessibility solutions are not necessarily huge and complex. We get fooled into thinking they are oftentimes because, yes, there are complexities, but they don't have to be. They can be something that actually starts with you, with each of you in this room. Tai, I'm going to put you on the spot and say what attracts you to accessibility in terms of what is it and how simplistic does it get? What do you see in terms of accessibility and how you think of it when you're trying to explain it in its simplest terms?
Thank you so much. It's great to be here. It's great to be back in New England. I'm from Vermont originally, and I was talking to Jason earlier about how his library revolutionized my experience because I walked into that library and there were books that I could look at, and that was really a great experience. So I see accessibility as pure and simple inclusion. We can really simplify it down to making sure we're including everyone. And there are so many ways that happens. Just recently, I found out there was an app that I could use, and I could drop a little marker in the app where I was located, and it would take me back to that location. So I could take a hike on a trail on my own because I could use that app to listen to a sound and get back to that marker. That's so simple, and that's so inclusive. You wouldn't believe all these small, very small things. I'm sure they take a lot of development, and they're a little bit more complicated for the people developing them. But in the grand scheme of things, they're really small things. I ordered something on Amazon last week. It was a bottle of conditioner. It came with Braille. I had no idea that it was going to have Braille on it, and I was flabbergasted. And I don't want a world where we're flabbergasted. That should be normal. That should be our inclusion strategy for helping everyone to feel like, hey, these companies are really taking notice. And so that's what we want to do, is just educating businesses on the importance of inclusion and educating the whole technology community about the need for accessibility and how it can be done in productive and collaborative ways. That's kind of how I got involved in it, was being my own advocate from a very young age. I was born very prematurely, and so I was blind from a young age, but also advocating on behalf of those who become blind later in life, people who have vision loss at older ages. What I want to do with accessibility is extend it. How can we make things more accessible in every regard? How do we make the internet more accessible in small ways that impact people who use magnification? I just found out that Procter & Gamble, for example, has a new symbology. They have a whole set of symbols on their packaging for people who can't read Braille, because so many people experience vision loss and they can't read Braille. So, but now they can go to the store or look at these bottles when they come out, and they can figure out what these things are. So there are really simple ways to do this. It doesn't have to be so complicated, and that's what I want to educate every stakeholder on.
Thank you. That is a perfect dovetail to what I wanted to get into next, which is I showed that video, the Access Desk video, because we're piloting that at MABVI. We're so lucky to be partnered and piloting this and seeing if the community wants it or not, and seeing how the community responds to it, and how we can take a tool like that where the community gets to participate in its own self-advocacy. And you brought up the term self-advocacy. And I find that is one of the strongest tools we have in our toolbox in terms of getting our needs met. We can say something's not accessible and we want it to be accessible. But as far as the non-disabled community, they may want to help. They may want to participate in accessibility. And where we currently sit with accessibility, I think opens so many doors for the community at large to step in with us and participate with us. And like that video, like that pilot program, what if we approach it from a combination of self-advocacy and tools like that one, where we call in, we get our needs met, the agent is able to help us order the teddy bear, for example, and then an assistant finds out what the actual bug was that was preventing us from doing it independently by ourselves. And we let the business know, and the business is then able to take steps for itself to make sure that it is accessible for future blind or disabled customers. And making sure that there are more tools and resources out there for people to understand how disability shows up in society and what can be done to accommodate it, not just in the ways that the law says you have to accommodate it, but in ways that are inclusive and that promote belonging and a feeling of acceptance. Jason, could you talk a little bit about what the NLS just launched in terms of the Braille displays? Maybe not everybody reads on a Braille display, but for those of us who do, what that meant, what it meant to see a tool for us that was so inclusive and so game-changing, become a tool that wasn't a several $1,000 thing that not everybody could access, but a tool that anybody could request. And talk a little bit about how that program came to be and why the broader non-disabled community needs to know about it and understand what importance that tool has.
Oh my goodness. Oh, wow. So we pilot a lot of things, and one of the, I think, ways that I should discuss this with a little bit of a background, that I can do this concisely, is to know that as a federal entity, we are very unique in that we must work and hear from our users. What we provide is something for them specifically. So we are in direct contact. I receive wonderful emails every day and sometimes not so wonderful emails every day about some of the services, but they're all good in the sense of people are wanting us to be better, to engage and have things that they actually want to use, and they do help us improve them. In looking at Braille, that has, I would say, never really slowed down, but it kind of went quiet for a couple of years. A lot of people might start thinking about Braille now, but what usually fascinates people is when you start to tell them that there are things such as eBraille. And they immediately are like, wait a minute. I am thinking Braille, it's print, it's large, it's big. It can be costly to make by some people's standard. And all of a sudden, here comes technology that says we can now actually do this in a very different way. We can have a device that will allow it to be connected to technology. And you have the pins and the
Can I interrupt you rudely for a second? Yes. So by big, like, let me help you understand the context if you've never seen a Braille book before.
Oh,
like,
huge
you know,
volumes.
Yeah, so like the Bible would take up an entire wall of this room. That's how big a Braille book.
When I was a kid, I had an 8-volume pocket dictionary. It's called Pocket Dictionary. 8 volumes.
Seriously, yeah.
8 volumes on the wall. Not a pocketbook.
Yeah, I had a copy of Little Women. I think it was 12 volumes all total. It took up 2 bookshelves, and my mom used to routinely get angry at me when I would leave volumes of it laying on the floor. Because she would tell me to go to bed, and she would turn off the light, and that never prevented me from being able to read. And I would like hide the book under the covers, and then the book would traditionally like fall out of my bed and land on the floor in the morning, and she'd trip over it when she came out to wake me up for the 3rd time to go to school because I was sleeping because I'd read until 3 o'clock in the morning. Yeah, it was that kid. Okay, go ahead.
Yes. So she's giving you some perspective, and our library, and what you should know is we would mail those things out to people. So, of course, if you just understand that, that means that we have to have tremendous, not large, tremendous amounts of storage capacity.
My mailman hated me.
Yes, that's what I was going to say.
Mine
The
too.
mail delivery does not necessarily like items, but it is called Free Matter for the Blind. It's something that's established that where everything is mailed first class, back and forth to us. In stating that, what is important to know is that does help in a variety of ways of space capacity. But when technology allowed us to talk with vendors to create an electronic item, it was just revolutionary. As she mentioned, when something is coming out as a prototype, particularly for the community that we serve, it is extremely cost prohibitive. You're talking about when this started, things that were about $10,000 to $12,000, $15,000. We might look at that from a federal thing and say, okay, so how are we going to use the American taxpayers' money and give this to people? Oh, we could give each state 2. Not going to be very, very useful, and people might not like us. Saying, well, this is an equity issue, which 2 are going to get it? So in looking at that, you work again with people, you look at things, and you begin to examine, can this be better? Can it be lighter? Do we need to consider a stripped-down version, but not so many of the amenities that we would like? And, of course, that happens. And with that, we got to a device that we said, we want to now prototype this. That, I would say, request has been so astounding to us on what we have done that we have people who are asking to come into our studies right now because they are in love with a lot of the Braille displays that we are marketing to people. It's free. We are looking for people to tell us what's wrong, what's right, what they enjoy. I can say from our early studies in the network libraries that we have, and each state has a network library, some more than others, and in U.S. territories, Those that do not have the pilot display have a certain amount of downloads of materials. We literally, I'm going to be honest, I had to talk to our data coordinator where I went, I am literally not looking at math correctly because what you just told me as a percentage cannot be right. You are talking about increases in people demanding materials from the library that we serve now in the 200% and 300% increase. And that was told to Congress.
300%, whoa.
Because they now have, as we talked about, access to things they want. It is no longer in the hardbound print, even though we do have a program, I'll say nicely, for people, which I can, if you want to participate in this, let us know. My collection development person is going to scream, but it is free. We now, because we have seen electronic displays go up so fast, we have noticed that people are wanting to learn Braille. Braille is having a resurgence.
I'm going to scream. Somebody doesn't do it, I'm going to do it. So, wait, okay. So, how many of you in here who have sight went to a library as a kid?
Yes.
Yeah.
There's a lot of hands.
If you're holding up your hand like this, I'm doing this. Like, can't see you do that. Okay. You're supposed to yell. Just, okay. So, all of you went to a library. Tai, all of us who are blind up here on stage, we went to a library, but it was probably an NLS library with Braille, right?
That would be it.
Yeah. I don't think I ever went to a public library and felt like able to access anything there, except maybe some of the books on tape, but I had to have somebody read to me what they were.
They had one children's book in Braille in my library. One in my public library.
But when we got access to something, what a game changer.
Huge.
Like, I don't know if you remember what it felt like for you to walk into that NLS library for the first time in your life and like pick up a book. But like for me it was, and we had this discussion of like, why do we want to talk about books and digital accessibility? Because for me, the moment that I started finding inclusion in a library was when I started realizing that it didn't matter. It didn't matter what kind of information it was. When I felt like I had access to information, I felt like I belonged. I felt like I could independently do my life, any part of my life. And that was what propelled me to become a self-advocate, to become college educated, to go on and believe that I could do anything else I wanted to do in my life, was the fact that I could get access to something. And so fundamentally, the root of access in my mind is that getting access to information. And whether that happens by feeling like you belong in a bookstore or a library, or whether that happens when you open your computer and you log on and you can visit a website and order a teddy bear for your child's birthday party, it's information access. It's being able to open something and know that you belong there, you are included there, you can get something out of that experience. Imagine if you walked into a grocery store tomorrow and every label, every jar, every can had that Braille label on it that Tai's conditioner had, and suddenly you couldn't read to pick out your groceries. Shoe on the other foot much? Uh-oh. What are you going to do? How are you going to shop? If you can't read the product, has any of you ever gone to the grocery store like in another country and like tried to read the labels? Yeah, it's a kingdom of over there. It's a kingdom of I don't necessarily belong. Have you gone into the store? This is an old one, but have you gone into the store and not been able to figure out what the clerk means when they say over there? I don't know. Over there is someplace I'll never know because you're pointing. Belonging, inclusion, simple acts of inclusion is what takes digital accessibility and makes it something that isn't just my responsibility to think about and to uphold. Because man, that gets exhausting. When it's all on me to figure out and think about, it's exhausting. We were having a conversation about the exhaustion that you experience when you hit 10, 12, 15 websites a day that you can't participate in because there's some piece of them that makes it inaccessible for us with our assistive technology. I think most of us up here use assistive technology on a daily basis. And can you talk a little bit of Jason or Tai personally, I'll let either one of you jump in personally about what it's like when you can't access something on a daily basis.
You get a level of fatigue that is really hard to deal with, because it's frustrating when you're trying to do something that people who can see, who aren't using assistive technology, might be able to do that in 1 minute, and it might take you an hour, and you had to ask 2 people to help you. And you want to do things on your own. You don't want to have to keep asking someone to do it. It's great. The services that are out there that help us are great, but we have, our time is also valuable, and companies need to understand that and make accessible websites so that we can use them in a way that's really efficient and productive. And it is an issue of belonging. You do feel terrible when you repeatedly hit a barrier and you can't be as productive because of that. It's not your own, it's outside of your control at that time.
And if you've spent your whole life viewing yourself as valuable, and suddenly businesses either don't value you or feel like they don't value you, and/or businesses portray that they don't value because their website is not accessible, and that's the only impression of them you get, it can feel pretty demoralizing, especially if you are somebody who doesn't know well how to self-advocate because you've never really had to do it that deeply. And you're in your 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s. Those of us up here who grew up blind, who I call long-time blind, we learned since we were children how to advocate for ourselves. But if you come to it as an older adult who is losing their vision, it's a different experience. It's tough to learn those self-advocacy skills strongly enough that you would pick up the phone and call a business and say, I can't access your website. So oftentimes web accessibility errors go undiagnosed, untreated, undetected, or detected, but nothing gets done about them. And they just stay that way. And/or attorneys get a hold of them and do those drive-by lawsuits that I were talking about, and nothing gets fixed. The third thing that happens is that they do get fixed. And at what cost? Sometimes it's easy and it's cost-effective, and they find the right tools and solutions, and sometimes it's very cost-heavy and complicated. And so we are envisioning new ways of doing web accessibility. Coming up in the future, there needs to be new ways for every business of every size to make sure that we all have the same web experience, that we all have a similar process of opening the website, clicking on the website, and getting what we want out of it. If we could all shop at the same grocery store with print labels, or the same library with print labels, or Braille labels, or any labels, we'd have a whole different experience. And I'll kick this back over. I want to start thinking about visioning of what web interaction looks like in the future, and what web accessibility is going to look like the more we do this work. MABVI is not alone. We share this area with many, many companies who are thinking about visioning what web accessibility is going to be like for all of us with disabilities in the future. But we're doing something very unique, and that is that we're thinking about new tools and resources to get us there. New things to build bridges, new ways of talking and relating that help us, businesses and the disability community, come together to solve this problem together, not from separate sides, and not with each other's self-interest, but with an eye to supporting each other. So if we're going to vision what happens in the future, if we're going to envision what happens in the future with this, Jason, I want you to talk about kind of what your work has focused on that leads to future hopes for you. For what are you thinking in terms of accessibility, for books, for information? What comes next? What are we going to do next that's really going to change the world for the way that blind people get access to information?
Oh, what a powerful question. This is probably what keeps me up at night, but also secures me in my job. That is something that has some very high-end answers, some very political answers, but I would offer something that's more pragmatic, practical, and just simple and realistic. I know I keep saying the word simple. It actually is very hard. It's really we as people understanding ourselves and knowing that one of the things you can do is expose yourself to things. By doing that, you will begin to learn, appreciate, understand, second guess your own biases. When I left Vermont, which Tai and I found out we have this wonderful connection to, and I was a Vermont State Librarian there, I came to the Library of Congress for this position, and Karen Kenninger was, I think, our first, and I was in the network library, that we call it, our first visually impaired blind director, which was like stunning to me in our 91-year history, if you think about that, the first ever. And so in stating that, believe it or not, that on one aspect was something new for the organization that speaks federally on behalf of blind people and visually impaired and print disabled. So think about how that was a reorientation to, oh, this is going to be new. We have to now do some things to kind of help our new leader orient this world. I think if more people in workplaces, in daily life, in society, social culture, and just plain old friendships and neighbors really are exposed to people in different ways, you do begin to question, well, why was I thinking like that? I know one of the most humbling experiences I've ever had is to be the director of this, because it introduced me to a workplace of people who are totally blind, what we call print disabled, all the way up to not being able to pick up a book. They are so amazing to me. They have skill sets that I could never, ever, ever have. One of them, as we talked about the Braille display, was, as a person who has some sight, it definitely would be something I saw through that lens, which was, oh, this has a certain look, it has a certain weight, the buttons are kind of big, okay, I think somebody can kind of use this. And then that was given to my blind staff, and they tore that apart in a way that I would never, as a sighted person, have thought about, well, this should have been like this, and what's the pen speed on that? Can't this go any faster? And it's about time. It's been 40 years I've been waiting on something like this. And I would just listen to them, and I sat in awe of my staff. I literally was humbled to know my staff is actually creating a product with me that is really going to be for a certain type of user who really will say, I know who actually tested this. A blind person looked at this. See, a sighted person can't say that. As much as you want to try, you will never have that experience to know what you need if you were visually impaired or print disabled. So that is what I would hope for the world, is to have more exposure, more interaction. It'll help you second guess your biases, because we all have them. I had them when I started the job, or when I thought something was, and it was like, thank you, I am totally wrong, and I am humbled to be in your presence.
To be with more blind people, to know more blind people, to see disability ubiquitous in society. Oh, what a concept. To believe that disability walks amongst us, talks amongst us, is amongst us every day, and that it's expected to be there. I don't want to continue to walk into stores, hospitals, restaurants, internet sites, and be unexpected, be a surprise, be a double take. No, I don't want to be that person anymore. I want to just be expected to be sitting there, to be working there, to be leading there. There is a rule that when a disabled person comes in, people look, people double take, people think, why is that person here? What is that person doing? There's a glance, there's a second take. We're ready to put that down. We're ready in society to step into a world where you would expect your doctor, your lawyer, your children's teacher, your executive director to be disabled. And that comes with making the world more accessible. That comes with participation in making the world more accessible. Tai, what is your vision of where accessibility goes from here to there? How do we get there where you would not blink twice to see your kid's surgeon is a blind person or a deaf person, or that your pilot is in a wheelchair, or, hey, blind, why not?
A couple of weeks ago, there was a visually impaired pilot that did a flight, so it's not.
Yeah, y'all laughing back there. I see you.
It's real. It's real.
I
it's a real
you.
thing.
Yeah.
When you say that, she is a teenager, right? She came, and their group visited, guess who? The National Library Service for the Blind and Print Disabled at our Congress. We threw a little celebration.
Yep. It's coming. We're going to fly your planes. What are you going to do about it?
What I envision for the future is being able to mentor, people with disabilities to build that community. Where are people with disabilities? Why aren't they in technology? Because they felt like they've been closed out. How do we get them into technology? How do we get companies to listen to them? How do they become part of the culture of those companies who are developing all these products, so that we don't go to CES and ask, have you thought about accessibility? Nope. We did not think about accessibility. That happens all the time when you walk into a store. Hey, is this touchscreen have any accessibility features? The people in the store look at you like you're crazy and they don't know what you're asking. So we want people with disabilities at all stages of the process. We want to build collaborations with businesses, talk to them about how we move forward, bring the industry together. How do we help small businesses? What are solutions? We talked about one earlier to help them, but what are other solutions to help with accessibility that are attainable, that feel like people can really make a lot of progress? Because there's a lot of fear, so we need to work on circumventing that fear and helping people move forward into a place that's more hopeful. But ultimately, it starts with mentoring people with disabilities, getting them into technology, and building these different communities, building these bridges.
So it starts with mentorship from Tai. Jason said it starts with knowing that disability is amongst us and beside us and part of our societal inclusion. I'm going to throw one out for myself, and I'm going to say that my vision for this is both of those, but also a third one that each of you, whether disabled or not, can participate in. Mine is that we look at our technology solutions and we make them a place of belonging. Yes, your piece of technology is a place. Think about your Alexa. So those of us who use a screen reader, which is text-to-speech, if you think about what your Alexa sounds like, Tai and probably Jason and I listen to that all day, every day. That's how we interact with our technology. I don't know if you use a screen reader or screen magnification, but all of us to some extent use text-to-speech. And that sound, and right now the way we interact with it, can be largely robotic and highly based on memorization. My vision is that our technology feels just as open and belonging as the society we work on building, so that the conversation can be had between me and my screen reader. It becomes fun to interact with my screen reader. It becomes something that an 80-year-old can pick up with no problem versus an 8-year-old versus an 18-year-old. That our assistive technology tools become comfortable, easy, usable things that accommodate a wide range of disabilities, that they become more something that you can walk up and use out of the box with easy training rather than very complex training, that the training becomes easier, that anybody can pick up any type of tool and use it technologically. So you easily kind of figure out how to look at a screen and work with a computer, and everybody who has learned how to use a computer is staring at me with daggers right now. I get it. Computers are tough to use for any of us, but the easier we make computers to use and the more inclusion and belonging that we build into our computer systems, the more all of us are going to have a better experience, and it's going to be based on universal design. And that's mine, is universal design. Can we design our digital spaces and our physical spaces where we're all in the same space together with belonging and inclusion in mind? And make them friendly places. Make them places where disability is not unexpected. It's respected. Because at the end of the day, I want to be sitting here as a disabled leader, and I want to be respected. I think everybody in this room wants the simple human right of respect. Do we not? So in a huge way, accessibility boils down to respect. It boils down to inclusion. It boils down to valuing disability experience. I don't look at my blindness as a bad thing or a good thing. It is a thing. It's part of me. It is something I live with every day. It is something I accommodate. The bad thing or the good thing is what A, I choose to do with it, or choose how to view it, and B, how you view it. And if you view it as this positive thing that can help you take a step back and look at how you can be more inclusive in your choices and your actions in society, and if I look at it as something that I can use to help me to look at my gifts and choices every day and make good ones, and make strong ones and get my work done despite challenges that are facing me. And whether the challenge is my blindness or the fact that I just stubbed my toe on the door, there's still challenges. They're just slightly different, but they're still challenges. And accessibility is just another challenge. And it's not mine to solve, and it's not yours to solve, it's ours to solve. And we're lucky as panelists up here that we get to be participants with you in solving it. But I hope that from each of us, you've taken a little bit of a guidance and insight as to how we think about accessibility and digital accessibility especially, what your role is going to be in changing it, in making the internet and the digital space more welcoming to anybody that you may come into contact with, whether you're a business owner, whether you're just a parent of 5 kids, some of whom have disabilities or not, whether you're 82 and you're losing your eyesight, whether you're 18 and wondering what it's like to be blind. Ask, get to know, learn. That's the biggest takeaway, is digital accessibility is a learning process. And if you're willing to ask and learn, you're going to be a very inclusive, digitally accessible human being.
Perfect.
Thank you.
Can we open it for questions?
Yep. Sure. Does anybody have any quick questions? And then I'm going to jump into something very cool. But yeah, I'll take 1 or 2 quick questions, especially if they're for Tai or Jason.
I think I see Laura in the back with a microphone.
I don't see anybody raising their hand.
I don't either, but don't.
Oh, there is a hand,
Okay.
I think.
Okay, you mentioned streaming.
Yep.
Please tell me about that. Thank
It's
you.
this thing that carries water from point A to point. Sorry.
Oh,
Streaming.
my goodness.
Yeah, you want to talk streaming, Jason?
Goodness. It all depends on where you want to go with that. I mean, for example, we have a lot of wonderful partners that we connect with that have some major concerns in the industry about streaming and what there is a lack of, but those are some advocacy groups that we connect with and interface. And so I know their situations, which would be National Federation for the Blind, American Council for the Blind, have some comments. On our end, it would be something that we are looking at as a futuristic endeavor. For those of us who know us with our application and software, it would be BARD, Braille Audio Reading Download, which a lot of people are very proud of, and comes in 2 formats, BARD as an app and BARD as the old-fashioned player with the cassette in it that's still mailed out. When I say this, one of the things that people must always remember, when it comes to inclusive practices, rarely is there a complete break, an extinction has occurred, and then you move forward. There is always going to be this ever-rolling, we have a lag and a drag, and that's not a negative when I say it. In our case, if we could do streaming tomorrow, I know we would love it, but we know for a fact a third of our country is going to say, I'm going to need to hang on to this player for another 15 years because I don't have connectivity out here. Our telecom industry is not that developed. So we have to build in that we will be gently bringing, not dragging, because they want to come with us. They just don't have their areas, their states, their rural areas have the capability to get to that. Bring that with us forward, and as those solutions get worked out, you move it. So on a streaming level, if you have the application, a tablet, phone, computer, smart TV, there's a whole host. But I will say that something that will probably amuse you is we are very interested sometimes in learning how people connect to things. And I am always surprised and amused when I can see reports that somebody has connected to our app by using a gaming system. Or it gets but better than that. What do you do if you know this person is using one of the first Nintendo systems, still accessible, to connect, that actually connected to the internet? And you're like, that should not be working. And then somebody shows me like, well, I still have a dial-up phone. And I'm like, oh, okay, a flip. And then they're like, no, but my grandmother has the old-fashioned rotary. So it just shows you, if it's working, Some people are going to say, as long as I can connect to you, I'm using it.
Hopefully we'll have gramophone streaming capability for Bard coming next week. Okay. So I'm going to thank my panelists for joining me this evening. You two have been marvelous, and in the words of another NPR holdover, thank you for joining us on What's Next on Wait, Wait, Don't Tell Me.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Next, we get to do something incredibly fun. Well, that would be Barbara speaking, actually. That's the fun one. But before that, I have to drag you through something absolutely horrible. We have a video that I'd love to show you. And to do that, I'm going to give you a little bit of context. Several years ago, I was a juror on a project with 11 other amazing blind people. We voted on something called the Holman Prize, which is sponsored by the Lighthouse for the Blind, and it's $25,000. And it is awarded in threes. So there are 3 gifts of $25,000 that are given out each year to blind people around the globe who have extraordinary ideas about travel and projects that will serve the blindness community and exploration and do something brand new in the world. And this project was one of the projects that came up. And I was an enthusiastic yes, because it had a lot of things that appealed to me. A blind woman traveling around the globe independently with a cane, doing things that people automatically assume we don't do by ourselves. Laura, are we ready to show the video?
A blind woman with a white cane enters JFK Airport.
I'm catching a flight to Lima.
So you want to have somebody come escort you?
No, I want to try to do it on my own. I think I have a little bit of time.
This is Mona Minkara, the blind traveler.
In my day job, I'm a professor of bioengineering, so I'm a scientist.
Flipping in zero gravity.
And I've been blind since I was a kid.
Walking.
And I think a lot of times people think blind people should be protected, safe at home. And it's really important for blind people to have freedom of doing what they want to do just like anybody else. So
Totally agree.
It's almost like you're emancipating yourself.
That's exactly what I'm doing.
It makes sense in a way, but it's impossible.
Is it though?
Alone on a train scanning for cues.
I don't know what my next step is going to be, so I just walked and listened for cues.
Listening.
So it's kind of exciting and exhilarating.
Mona walks into a restricted area.
Yes. Which way? Okay.
Sweden.
We got off at Gamlistan.
Alleyway.
It's dark. It's nighttime. It's past 1 a.m. I don't even know.
Mona pulls on double doors.
I went to a government building. I tried the door. I triggered an alarm. 4 guys with big guns came, apparently. Is this the Hyatt Hotel?
No, it's called Tessinska palatset.
AKA Tessin Palace, property of the Swedish crown.
This is too much. But I will not give up at this point. And I got a blister. So what is the cost of independence?
Mona shows her hand.
A blister. I'll take it any day.
Remote town of Paran.
So it seems like everybody knows around here that blind people live here.
Blind man points to his eyes.
I came here to talk to them because they're my people, right? They're like me.
Meeting new people.
And if you operate that there's value in everyone having access, then the society you build is one that's gonna progress.
Walking with tour guide.
Again, like I said, it doesn't mean that I don't want the help sometimes. No, I think the systems to help people is on point. But it's just the fact that society just operates on the default.
In airport bus.
That I can't do it. No, let me try.
Mona looks ahead.
So let's see.
Mona zip lines down a mountain. Cusco. Peruvian dance. Norway. Machu Picchu. Aguas Calientes. Train. Fjords. Peruvian outskirts. Cliffside road. Norwegian waterfalls. Petting a horse. Train.
My dream is coming true!
Planes, Trains, and Canes Season 2. Brought to you by the Massachusetts Association for the Blind and Visually Impaired. Funding made possible by the Graham Foundation.
Told you I had to take you through this horrible experience. Oh, I'm so sorry. So season 1 is already out on YouTube. If you have not seen it, she does London, Istanbul, Tokyo, Hong Kong, Johannesburg, and some other places. Maybe some space, I don't know. Season 2, you just saw the Sizzler Reel 4. MABVI is proudly going to be working with Mona to produce season 2, coming to you very soon. We are so excited to be partnering with Dr. Mona Minkara on this project, and we are so excited that she is here this evening with us to talk a little bit about planes, canes, and trains, and the amazing things that blind women get up to when nobody keeps us, babysat. Exactly. Ladies and gentlemen, Dr. Mona Minkara.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. Amazing audible response. Did you all enjoy that? So I wanted to talk to you a little bit more about Planes, Trains, and Canes. As Sassy told you, basically season 1 is already out, so please like and subscribe. Okay, so Planes, Trains, and Canes. Okay, I want to talk to you first about the mission. There's a slide right now up on the screen. It's a big logo. For the people who can see, do you see it? For the people who can't see, let me describe it. It's basically a circular logo of the globe, and then there's like a traversing road on it, but it's not a straight road. It's a windy road because we all take different paths, symbolism there. Yeah, okay. And then there's a picture of me like traversing that road. So the mission here is for us to start the conversation. Let's actually sit down and discuss accessibility. Let's discuss, what does it mean to be blind and traveling in the world? Why is it such a shock for so many people to interact with me? And what happens when I go out and actually truly try to explore the world on my own? And this is what Planes, Trains, and Canes is all about. I want to bring you along for the journey. So I hope you kind of enjoyed pieces of that. How many of you want to see more of what happened? Yeah? Okay. So that's kind of the mission of what's happening here. And so it started off with the Holman Prize, and I was amazed to have won it. Like, I was kind of shocked. I went out into the world and went to 5 cities, and then was even more amazed of what I discovered for myself, what I discovered around the world, what I discovered in terms of the philosophies that exist. And I came back home, and I realized that I was getting so many people connecting with me. They were just contacting me all the time. And what I thought was going to be this one and done deal felt like maybe I should do more. So now I flip to the next slide, labeled Impact. You all see that for people who can. For other people, so basically on the screen is a picture of me in zero gravity floating. Okay, yes, a dramatic picture. This was actually in the New York Times. What happened is, and this is going to come out in season 2 with Planes, Trains, and Canes, so please stay tuned. I actually got to experience one of the first inaugural flights of zero gravity with 11 other disabled flyers, and we are doing this with Astro Access so that we can actually think about access and accessibility when we start, as humanity, start going into space. And so I actually got to fly 3 times. I am now technically, apparently, the most experienced blind zero gravity traveler in the world and in history. But I mean, it's not just for that. It's for the fact that we want to actually work towards technologies and think of how do we make the future space, capsules accessible. And this will be a video that will come out. So for season 2, we will also have Peru. So you saw a little bit of that, where there's a village called Paran, where 75% of the people are blind there. And it's very remote, and it's in the Andes. I actually went there. I went to Sweden and Norway. I had a really interesting kind of exploratory, an exploration, you can say, there. And then I will be going to Morocco and the Philippines, and that is season 2. And so that will be because of MABVI. So thank you for making that possible. We're going to be going out, and that's what's going to come out. Now, I was telling you that after season 1, my team, which starts off with me, the videographer, Natalie Guzzi, who follows me around. She's not allowed to help me out when we're doing this. The editor, Benjamin Ted Jimenez, who does the amazing editing work. And now we have Elizabeth Janey, Dr. Elizabeth Janey, who's actually the writer and like helps me like, you know, see the bigger vision with all this. And then we also have Prithvi Rajmaka and Krista Harmon, who help with social media and admin stuff. But basically our team has been meeting every Tuesday since season 1. And we realized that this is really important because people have actually been watching this. I've gotten contacted by different mobility instructors across the country that have used this as curricula during COVID because people couldn't meet up. And so you can watch Planes, Trains, and Canes and see kind of the techniques of navigating that I use. I have Peter, like different individuals. There was somebody from Canada who reached out and I attended their class because they were really like, they watched Planes, Trains, and Canes in their class. There's a disability law class in which they're debating the different episodes in Planes, Trains, and Canes, but especially the London one. Anybody here seen the London episode? Yes. Yeah, so for people who have seen it, basically, I get into an argument. What? Spoilers. Yeah, I'm not going to give any spoilers, but I get into an argument. I'm just going to tell you that much. And I'm a very peaceful person most of the time. Anyway, but it's all about the conversation, right? And I was like so impressed to see that people are actually debating my videos. Like on Reddit, people are like going at it with the like debates, and that's what I want. I want the conversation to start. So if you all noticed, in order for the conversation to happen, it needs to be inclusive material. So everything is audio described and closed captioned. So we can all, thank you, yes. So we can all be at the table, right? So the impact continues. We actually then, we're curious. Is that, now there's a slide that says around the world? Yeah, okay. So this is really cool. I asked my team, I was just curious, how many countries did we reach? Any guesses? Somebody said 11. Any other guesses? 20. 42, 85. Okay. I'm going to tell you. Actually, you know what? David Brown, are you there?
Yes, I'm here.
Do you want to read them?
Sure.
Okay.
Singapore, Canada, Austria, Lebanon, Malaysia, Germany, Australia, Sweden, Philippines, Saudi Arabia, India, Pakistan, South America, India, South Africa, Brazil, United Arab Emirates, Turkey, France, Netherlands, Greece, Norway, Spain, Peru, Kuwait, Egypt, Thailand, New Zealand, Belgium, Iraq, Finland, Romania, Japan, Bangladesh, Denmark, Indonesia, Ireland, Vietnam, and United States of America.
Actually, it's 52, but I don't know whether they're all there. But like, that is how much we have reached. And I have to tell you, I didn't actually spend yet much money on any advertising. So like, we need to do that for season 2. But basically, this is what has happened just organically with me traveling and passing out Planes, Trains, and Canes business cards. And that's what it is. We're building a community. It's a global community. We're coming together. The discussion, the conversation is beginning. And I want all of us to be a part of this. And so some of the testimonials, here I have a page. Do y'all see now a screen with me walking with a blind man? So now there's a screen me walking with a blind man. I'm in Peron. And on the screen, again, David Brown, I'd love your assistance. We have testimonials from different people who have watched Planes, Trains, and Canes.
Hi, Mona. I stumbled across your YouTube channel a few months ago and love your videos. I'm partially sighted, still have some useful vision, but use a long cane to navigate. I also have autism, which can make things additionally challenging. As a young teen, I always dreamt of traveling the world. I got older, started struggling with disability, and that dream seemed less and less achievable. Excellent video. As a disabled person, I can relate to the difficulties of adventuring. Best of luck in your journey. We are enlightening the world for us all. Damn, this looks good. I hope you get to make the documentary because this video application is great. Great video, Mona. Excited to see more. We want more. When is the next video? OMG, exclamation point, exclamation point, exclamation point. I am speechless, exclamation point.
And that's just the tip of the iceberg because we don't have all the time, right? Like, but I think what hits me the most is the fact that people are engaging, people are connecting. I've had people reach out to me telling me that because of my videos, even though they're losing their eyesight, before they didn't think they could travel and explore the world, but now they realize that there's more to seeing, to just exploring. You can explore the world without using your eyesight. People are adventuring out, and the conversation's continuing. So I'm standing here in front of you, and I want all of us, I want you to join me in allowing this conversation to continue, in allowing this discussion about accessibility to continue, because that's what Planes, Trains, and Canes is all about. So thank you so much, and I would take any questions. Oh, I don't know.
Thank you, Mona. We are really excited for MABVI and Mona to partner together for Planes, Canes, and Trains, and now I am super excited to reintroduce to the stage our Chief Executive Officer, Barbara Salisbury.
I have one word to say, wow. This is the part of the program where I give a summary of what we've accomplished this past year, where we are today, and where we plan to go in the future. But first, I want to thank all of you for helping get us here. Your vision, your support and encouragement, your talent, your tireless efforts on our behalf, your generous giving of your resources, your willingness to connect us up to people and organizations who can enrich what we do. Looking at where we are now, I can only say you've prodded us to set ambitious goals, and we've exceeded all our expectations. Moreover, we're well positioned to achieve even greater things in the coming years. We wouldn't be here without you. And we look forward to working closely with you to share our satisfaction from achieving these important goals together. The older I get, the more I realize that the world isn't divided into two distinct groups, the disabled and the not disabled. We're all unique with our various strengths and weaknesses, and we would all benefit from some support at one point or another to help us fully realize the life we want for ourselves. Our mix of strengths and weaknesses changes over time, or worse, it can change abruptly through an accident or illness. People with disabilities aren't the other. It's us and our loved ones at some time in our lives. Since 1903, MAB has been working with individuals with disabilities to allow them to have full and satisfying lives, the lives they each as individuals want to live. We strive to make sure that individuals with disabilities aren't sidelined, but rather are trained and supported so that they can remain in the game. I marvel at the strides we're making in helping individuals pursue their dreams, increasingly employing technology to enhance their abilities and therapies to help them develop new skills. In MABVI, our programs that serve individuals who are blind or visually impaired, we've made notable strides in adjustment counseling, access technology, and digital accessibility. While our focus is primarily on providing services to help individuals who are losing their vision pivot and move on with their lives, the reality is that losing your vision is traumatic. And most people are too anxious, depressed, angry, or in denial to learn new skills and move on. Effective adjustment counseling is essential. And this year, we found licensed therapists who have lived experience are most effective in helping individuals grapple with their loss and become ready to move forward. The success of our social workers who've dealt with losing their own vision has led to an explosion in referrals and program expansion for the coming year. Likewise, the success of Access technology is pushing us to continue to expand the program statewide. This program, which provides one-to-one technology training for all individuals who are blind or low vision, has opened the door to all the ways that the internet can make life easier. Online shopping with home delivery, ride-share services, staying in touch with loved ones, and more. The computer offers so much that can help individuals with vision loss live full lives, but they need to be trained to use it. It's increasingly true that digital accessibility is the new human right. As you've heard tonight, you can't be a full participant in society without being able to use everything the internet has to offer. The problem is that only 2% of what's on the internet is fully accessible to individuals without sight. But making websites accessible is expensive and beyond the bandwidth of many small businesses and not-for-profit organizations. I am so proud that MABVI has been providing leadership on a national level to develop better approaches to achieving digital accessibility than those that are currently available. We are working with accessibility companies and advocates from the blindness community to find common ground regarding the principles a new system should be based on and what a better approach might be. In Adult Disability Services, MAB's largest division, we're striving to provide much more than high-quality custodial care for individuals with intellectual disabilities and brain injuries. By embedding occupational therapists into the staffing pattern of our group homes, we're able to teach our participants to become as independent as possible and to regain agency over their lives. Our work this past year in our group homes for individuals recovering from brain injury has been promising, and we're looking forward to rolling it out to all our ABI waiver houses, acquired brain injury, with funding from a combination of philanthropy and health insurance. We've also laid the groundwork for a rehab and training center for ABI waiver participants that is expected to open this year. Not only will it fill a badly needed gap in services in Central Mass, but it will demonstrate a viable alternative for a population that has no interest in attending day programs along with individuals who are intellectually disabled. The Ivy Street School, MAB's School for Neurodiverse Young People, made huge advances over the past year in extending what we've learned works at Ivy Street to a broader population. First, we've learned that healing from the traumas associated with living with disabilities must occur before a student can focus on skill development. And now we're working to provide opportunities for healing to all the individuals and families we serve in each of MAB's divisions. We've done the work necessary to launch a mental health clinic that will allow us to expand counseling services that have been successful with our Ivy Street students and residential families to support our alumni and day program families, as well as the adults we serve in adult disability services who have intellectual impairments and brain injuries, and individuals supported in MABVI who are losing their vision. Second, we're expanding Skills for Life, the program we started 6 years ago to extend our teaching beyond the students currently at Ivy Street. Skills for Life occupational therapists provide training in executive functioning and life skills to our alums, as well as students and graduates from other schools who need this training to move forward in the adult world. Over the past year, Skills for Life has doubled, in part due to our move to accept health insurance, as well as by increasing contracts with public schools. Ivy Street's newest initiative is Communities for Life. By establishing a peer mentoring program, students who are soon graduating can develop relationships with students who are further along on their path in the adult world. These relationships can give our students confidence that they will be able to achieve their own goals for work, friendship, and independent living. And through these relationships, enhanced by a schedule of social activities, transitioning students will establish anchors in the adult world and won't feel socially isolated as they leave Ivy Street. We are excited about moving forward on all these initiatives to fill important gaps. But we need more than good ideas to achieve our mission. We need great people to do this important work and to realize our vision. We need to strengthen loyalty and retain our best staff. We've worked hard to increase pay and improve benefits, but we know that attracting and retaining the best staff isn't just about money. It's also about creating a workplace culture that recognizes high performance, values the contribution of each employee, and provides opportunities for staff to succeed and grow. By launching the Max O. Joseph Excellence in Direct Care Awards, MAB is able to honor the lowest paid staff who are often overlooked. Ivy Street's fellowships that allow direct care staff to become special ed teachers is another real way we're recognizing potential and promoting it. In our adult programs, the expansion of our evidence-based performance appraisal system reflects our intention to help all our direct care managers become superstars. The critical role that supervisors play creating the kind of workplace that retains good staff cannot be overrated. Our strong belief in the importance of good supervision is reflected in our commitment to provide intensive training to all supervisors starting this year. I thank you all for providing the support we need to continue to do this important work. We have much yet to do to further our mission. Partnering with you to achieve it is thrilling. Thank you.